Good afternoon. I must admit I'm very happy to be home and to be sharing this video with you from my home office. We all had a scary time. Some of you are still recovering, and just want you to know our thoughts and prayers are certainly with you as you're going through some really difficult times with the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. I wanted to just do a very quick meeting this afternoon, mainly so that you would have a video. Quite a few of you have used this extra time as an opportunity to get ahead. We have several that have finished the SIP completely and are ready to begin Caap 3. So we've already talked about Caap 1 and Caap 2. We've already talked about all of the SIP, but we haven't really addressed Caap 3 or 4. So I just kind of wanted to give you a brief introductory to that and sort of some points along the way. And I will be available if you want to email me or if you have questions or whatever. I think if you will read the rubric and read the information in your notebook that describes the task, if you will look at the outline that Dr. Robertson and I sent out, that outline is specifically designed to organize your paper in a way that makes it easy for an evaluator to check off the components that are supposed to be there. So if you'll use those headings, I'm not requiring you to, you don't have to, but it sure is a lot easier on you and me and the evaluator if you do. Less time they have to spend looking for something, the better. So let's start off with kind of a review of Caap 1. So Caap 1 was your climate analysis, and Caap 2 was your school environmental analysis. And now you're rolling into 3, which is your cultural competence analysis. And you're going to really dig into the culture of your school. And in many cases, the best data for you to use to start with for this would be your school report card. Hey, Travis.
Hey there.
I'm so happy you left me so I'm not alone. I felt really stupid sitting here talking to myself, so thank you very much. So, have you had a good week?
Yeah, we're on our break right now, so that makes it really enjoyable.
It does, and it's time for you to plow ahead then. So I was just saying.
That's my goal.
That many people have finished the SIP, so it's certainly doable. That's the SCIP, all components of that. And quite a few people are ready for the third component of the Caap. I think you have finished Caap 1 and 2, haven't you? Or you're working on them, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I finished 1 and 2.
Very good. So 3 is just carrying that forward. 3 is on the cultural competence analysis of your school. And so the first thing you'll want to do is really find out what is cultural competence. Find a definition for that. You may even find a reference that you can use in that introductory paragraph that says something like cultural competence is defined as blah, blah, blah. Or according to, and then quote whoever you want to quote. But that's how you're going to start. From that, you're going to move into the very next thing on your outline that I sent you, that Dr. Robertson and I sent. The very next thing says vision and mission. Okay, so the questions that you want to answer in that paragraph is, what is the vision of your school? What is the mission? And these are statements that you should have. And then how was it formed? So really the vision and mission should be the driving force behind a school. Everything you do should relate to or be related to your vision or your mission, but in many cases that's not the way it is. Administrators have a fast turnover. They don't always have a chance to really focus in on those pieces. But you'll find when you do this third component that that's really the key of everything in your school. is, do you have a common focus? And that's how you get it, is through your vision and your mission. So how was it formed? Was it dictated to you? Did the staff create it? Was it created years ago and you're just stuck with it? Do you revisit it every year? And if so, how? So that's the type of information you want to get in this paragraph. You want to know how evident is it what your mission is. So like if you ask teachers, would they know what it is? Do they know what your vision or mission? If you ask parents, would they know what it is? Do your students know what it is? Or what are the decisions that you make in your school? So if you say all children can learn, if that's one of yours, then do you show in what you do at your school? Are you all inclusive to all students? Do you provide extra support? Do your teachers believe that all children deserve equal opportunities and that sort of thing? So that's that first section. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is going to talk about school leadership, but this time it's the school leadership as it pertains to culture. So you're going to talk about attitudes, feelings, the type of, does your administrator have an open door policy? You know, are you free to go in whenever you want to? Or do you have to see them by appointment? Are they quick to respond when you have a question? Do they frequently walk through your classrooms? Are they comfortable walking through your classrooms? Do they know the students by name? Do they come in the lunchroom? Do they sit down from time to time or during the day and converse with the students? Do they get down on the floor in that pre-K and K and, you know, play with the kids? Are they seen out on the playground? How do the parents feel about them? Do they ever do car rider duty? Do the parents see them as an active part? So that's what that leadership piece is about. The next one is on teacher quality and qualifications. And this one you can pretty much copy right out of the school report card.
Okay.
It tells you how many years of experience, unless it's changed since it's been reported. So you could report it as it is, and then you might say this past year or this current year, we've had changes in this. Okay. But you can report it like it was. So you're going to say, we have 30 teachers on staff. 10 of them have less than 4 years experience. 2 of them have greater than 15 years experience. Okay. 6 have national board certification. 4 have their master's, and 1 is working on his educational leadership degree. So, however it is, you're going to present your staff as to their qualifications for teaching. You might talk about during that, are they sensitive to the students as a whole? What's the attitude of your staff? What's the atmosphere? Do they participate? You know, some schools, you'll say, oh, we can't have a meeting after school because nobody will come. Or others will say, if you tell them it's for the betterment of the students, they'll come. If you're going to come and do a after-school professional development on poverty, and we're going to learn more about our students, we're coming. That's just the way it is. Our teachers will do anything if you can show them that it'll have a positive impact on or do they have the other attitude? They don't want to be bothered. They don't want you coming in the room. Do they welcome parents? Do they welcome people in the community? Do former students enjoy seeing former teachers in the hallway? Tell us all about your staff in your school. And then you're going to talk about parent involvement and support. And that can be, do you have a parent council? Do you have parents who serve on your school improvement team? Do you have a PTO? And Travis, your school is kind of unique in that of your poverty level. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, what extra things do you do? Hi, Grant. Welcome. So what extra things did you do?
Hey.
Hey, how are you? We're recording this, so we're jumping into 3. We've just gone through the first 2 portions of 3, and now we're looking at parent involvement. I'll go back over it in just a second. So the parent involvement piece, you want to report on parent council if you have it, PTO. Do you have parents on your school improvement team? What kind of communication do you have with your parents? Do you send home a weekly bulletin? Do you expect them to find an internet somewhere and look at your website? Do you send things home in Spanish? Do you, what does your Title I survey say? You could pull that in here if you have Title I. Do you have partnerships with churches and communities, other community things? I was telling Travis has a high poverty school, and I know that. So there may be some extra things that I think he has some great partnerships there with some of the churches. And he can tell us in that paragraph or that section about how that benefits the parent involvement by having the community involved also. I think they do a lot of things, don't they, with feeding parents for meetings, things like that. You get them in if you give them food. What sort of incentives do you have? So that goes with that parent support. So Travis, I'm going to go back up to Caap 3 for Grant's sake and just kind of recap it, and then you can get the details later off the video, Grant, or we can talk afterwards. But Caap 3 is the cultural component, and you're looking at, first of all, your vision and mission. You're going to really analyze that. You're going to look at your school leadership as it pertains to culture. You're going to look at your parent involvement and the support of the parents, and that's the one I was just talking about. And then the 4th area you're going to look at is conflict resolution. Now this one, people sometimes question, well, what kind of conflict are you talking about? Pretty much any conflict. So we're talking about culture. Remember, that's the lens that you're looking through. So do you have a culture among your staff where conflict is likely to occur? Or do you have a culture among your staff where they are collaborative and cooperative? Is there a good camaraderie between them? What sort of activities take place in your school that you all participate in? Or do you stick to yourselves by grade levels or sections? Or is there a good crossover between everybody? So that being the case, when conflict arises within the staff, how is that resolved? How is that handled? Is there open communication? Are there channels for that? I used to always tell my staff, if you have a problem with somebody, you go to them first. And then if that doesn't, one-on-one, and if that doesn't resolve it, or if you hear that conversation outside of the one-on-one conversation you had, it comes to my office. And it's behind closed doors. So I'm talking about that kind of thing. What do you have? But I'm also talking about students. Are you in a school where teachers are quick to just go to the office, send them to the office? What do your office referrals look like as far as conflict? Or do you have a system in place, like maybe positive behavior support? Do you have a rubric for students are referred to the office based on this criteria? Or first you go through this step, and then you go through that step. So basically you're talking about your school, and you're looking at, do you have processes in place? What is the culture surrounding conflict resolution in your school? Is it a culture that has a definite plan and a definite way to deal with it? Is it just kind of mass chaos? Or is there a lot of passive aggressive stuff going on? And what about within the students themselves? If students have issues or conflicts, Do they know what the channels are, and are they comfortable reporting those things? And then the final piece of Caap 3 is student achievement. And again, this is pretty exciting because you can pull that right off of the report card. So teacher qualifications and student achievement are two areas that you can use from something that you've used before or school report card. Okay, and then you can just analyze it based on that. So like, if you're looking at EOG data, for example, you can say, well, for the past 3 years, we have continued to fall lower and lower and lower in our reading scores, despite the efforts that we've tried for raising achievement. Or you could say that 3 years ago, our reading scores were lowest in the district. But over the past 3 years, we've implemented different programs, we've done professional development, we've brought in assistance, and we've really focused on raising student achievement with good results, showing that currently, this is what our student achievement looks like. Got that? All right, and then you write a conclusion. Now, in that conclusion, you're going to have recommendations for each of those areas that we just listed. So here's how I recommend that you do that. So if you go back, Caap 3, begin number 1, vision and mission statement, you write your section on, yes, we live our mission is so-and-so, our vision is so-and-so, we live by it, blah, 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 blah. However, the outside community is not as aware of what it is. And so we have 2 recommendations for the coming year. Number 1, and then number 2. And put them right there in that vision mission section. Okay? Then you're going to go to number 2. School leadership pertaining to culture, and you're going to write that whole section that we talked about. You know, do you have open door policy? Do you have a collaborative environment? You know, what's the culture surrounding your school leadership? Is your principal readily available, and that sort of thing. Then you're going to identify 2 things there that you think that your committee, this committee that you're having to analyze this with, that y'all think you need to improve in these 2 areas, and so forth. So the same thing for teacher quality, same thing for parent involvement, conflict resolution, and student achievement. So then when you get to your conclusion, then rather than really defining each one of your recommendations, you can just sort of write a summary paragraph referring back to those different sections, all these recommendations in task 1, 2, the recommendations that you've done in Caap 3, and they're all there, and just say I've analyzed the culture, I've looked at these areas, vision, leadership, teacher quality, blah, blah, blah. We've made recommendations. The committee, based on our analysis, have made recommendation for improvement in each area, period. Okay, so that takes you through 3. What questions do you have about 3?
Have you went over 2 yet?
No, I finished
I'm sorry.
2.
Shoot, I just got here. I'm so sorry. We were in a PD meeting.
I did 2 last semester. No, last.
Sorry.
I'm going back over 2 after this. Right now I'm talking about 3.
Gotcha. I'm so sorry.
No, that's quite all right. I'm teasing you. Okay, so 3 is going to be that piece on cultural competence. It told you just how to do it. Now you finish it and you start with 4. 4 is where you take Caap 1, Caap 2, Caap 3, and put them together for Cap 4. So like in 4, you're going to say, in task 1, I looked at, what was one about? I don't have it memorized. One is the climate analysis. One, I looked at a climate analysis. And basically, this is what we concluded. And then we looked at, one was, the competence. You did a school environment one, you did a school environment analysis, and you did, I can't remember what they call it.
One was called climate analysis.
There you go, climate analysis. 2 was the school environmental analysis, and 3 was the culture. So you got those 3 pieces. For 4, you go back and say, we did the climate analysis, blah, 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 blah. Basically, this is what we determined. We did the environmental analysis, and this is what we determined. And we did the culture analysis, and this is what we determined. And then you're going to put it all together in one huge action plan chart. That's going to have action plan, your goals and objectives, your activities, activities as they relate to goals and objectives, and then indicators of success. So there's another one of those big charts. At this point, people are starting to go, usually, wait a minute, I thought I just did that. Well, you did that in the SIP. You did that in other areas. But this one, you're doing it specifically looking at the climate, the culture, the leadership, the things that we have just talked about. Now, how confused are you? All right, so my first question is, do you have any questions on 3 or 4? And then I'll go backwards to 1 and 2. You okay? All right. Do you want to go back to 1? Anybody need questions on 1? How about 2? 2.
And it's probably nothing major. I'm just, that one section, I think we're supposed to do a observation or survey or something like that. Can it just be like a survey only? Or does it have to be an observation and a survey and
You need to do some kind of observation in there because you're really trying to have a good smattering of data. And so, but what you can do is you can do the survey and then you can randomly talk to people about the survey.
Oh. And the survey has to do with those, the school environment. See, a lot of this stuff's on my teacher survey already.
Right.
Take those exact ones and put them in this.
Yes.
And what I was thinking about doing is taking those exact ones from last year, doing another one for right now to see where we're at on those same. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then we need to add more to that, or is it just?
You can probably get by with just that.
But it has to do with description, school environment, student achievement, and cultural diversity.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was getting confused about. I was going to make sure I was supposed to have some kind of question about all of those.
But you were also wanting to, like on those observations, the observations or interviews, basically you're saying, the survey said this. You believe that? Is that how you feel?
Yeah.
The research about our school shows this, but is that really what you think? Or do you think something else? And so that's really all of your observations. I had some people that did observations, so they would walk through a room and just do a walkthrough like for 15 minutes. And then they would put down the things that they saw that they thought related to what they had put in their analysis. You know, like instruction. I saw best practices of instruction. Objectives were posted. Teachers were using time management. Students were engaged 90% of the time. Students had opportunities to ask questions. Teachers gave sustaining feedback rather than just an answer, that sort of thing. It's possible that when you're through with this, it could be 40 pages long. So don't start panicking and thinking, oh, I got too much. This is an analysis, and it's more like a paper than anything you've done yet. But to be honest with you, if I was your principal, this is the piece that I would want to look at, because this is the piece that they will use when they have to fill out their reports for school improvement and different, for their superintendent and different things. This is the kind of stuff you have to put on it. So it's a great practice for you, because when you are a real principal, you're always having to do grants, or you're having to do reports for the State Department or for the superintendent's office or for the Board of Education. And this is the kind of stuff they want to know, and this is what it looks like. So say, for example, if they do a teacher survey at the end and it comes back that their principal is unfair, doesn't listen, all of those sorts of things, you're going to want to look at the cultural analysis like this and say, well, yeah, I should have done that earlier, and then I would have known they felt that way. You see what I mean? So these are really important pieces for you to have in your toolbox as an administrator. What else? I always feel like I just confuse you more.
No, it's just making sure. I'm one of these, I want to make sure I do everything exactly right. And sometimes like task 1, I ended up with 26 pages, and I said, did I do too much?
It can be that way.
And then this one here, you're like thinking 40 pages, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that gives me a thing to play around with. Because sometimes I almost wonder if I do too much or not enough, and I just want to make sure I do it right.
And it's interesting. Sometimes some people can do it in 6 pages, 8 pages.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a lot to talk about. I would always rather have too much than not enough. But sometimes people who don't really know what they're doing have a hard time narrowing it down, and so they give you 50 pages of, so as an evaluator, I can remember, both ways. So I can't point blank say, this is right. It depends on what size your school is. Some people don't have as much to talk about. So
let me throw this out at you. Say we did the survey, and we're going to break it down into those 3 areas: that description of school environment, student achievement, and student staff cultural diversity. Could we do something like a chart with the questions and the, agree or whatever from the survey questions, and then right below that make a graph of what we talked about? Or how do you want to, because it says it's got to be a graph. I guess it's not a chart, and it has to be in a graph form, right?
No, I think it could be a chart.
Okay, I'm just making sure, because I've seen some people's, and they're doing it in graphs, and then some people's doing it in charts.
I think you'll be fine.
Chart?
Mm-hmm. Okay. They just mean, when they refer to a graphic organizer, it's just anything like that gives you a visual. Now, one thing I'll caution you about when you get to 3 and 4, 4 says you can use a PERT chart, P-E-R-T, and unless you know what a PERT chart is, don't use it. Because there's a lot of people, you can look up how to do a PERT chart, and if you have the program, you can dump your stuff in there and spit it out. But a PERT chart, unless you really know what you're doing or have somebody that can teach you how to use a PERT chart, I recommend you stay away from it. Grant, didn't I check yours today?
Yeah, you looked at my Caap 1, and my Caap 2 was currently still being peer reviewed. So I have to add one part of a survey to it, and hopefully it'll be ready to go too.
Great. That's wonderful.
But only question I have is, like, with my observations,
Mhm.
what is the best way you think that I can put that into a table?
Let me think just a minute. What did you do? I can't remember.
I went all 3 grade levels and had questions that I asked them first, and then I did like a 15-minute walkthrough and seeing if the same type of, like, for one, how's the atmosphere of your classroom, and then I would kind of talk about the way I felt the atmosphere was. So should I have their response and then what actually that I felt?
Yes. That'd
Okay.
be great. That would be great.
Okay.
Really good.
I can do that. So I need to just add a couple things and then it'll be ready for Blackboard.
Okay, that's good. I'm getting excited. I'm going to be able to take October off.
I feel behind now.
No, the reason I push you on the SIP and the CAP both is because I think once you start them, if you stay with it, and that's why I prefer to finish the SIP before you start the CAP. Because these, more than any of your others, they all build on each other, but these really build on each other. And so I just really think if you can start on it and roll it all out, but when you start trying to break it apart and, 2 weeks later come back and look at the next section, it kind of gets confusing because they're so similar. The areas are so similar. There's just a little bit of, difference. Anything else? Do y'all realize how close you are to being finished? Don't celebrate yet.
Nothing against y'all, but I'm be glad.
Then what will I do with myself?
Whew. I have been so stressed about our school year.
My phone bill will just go down. I won't have anybody to talk to.
Our school year started off crazy.
Yep.
And with this on top of it, it has made it stressful.
Yeah.
We're making it.
But good. And Grant, where are you?
East Wilkes Middle School.
That's right.
Wilkes County.
You're up there with Nick Tomlin, right? No, he's in Elton.
He's at Elkin. He's just like 5 miles down the road.
Yeah, I got my doctorate with a group from Wilkes. We call them the Wilkes County Boys. It was Joey and
Bullis.
Joey Bullis, Jeff Pass, and then there was another Joey. Became an elementary principal. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, the Wilkes County Boys. So I remember that.
Yes.
All right. Well, guys, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. Sometimes when we talk in general, you can kind of get headed there. But then when you need to really focus on what you're doing, you might need a little one-on-one to say, hey, is this okay? Please feel free to call me, email me, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
You are my life. Right, Larry?
That's right. As much as I bother you, you're my life too.
Larry and I have been together for a while now.
Woo.
Grant and I just been together last semester and this semester, but Larry and I have been together since the beginning of time.
Right.
Wow.
Another program, actually. 2007, fall 2017. Too. While you were with Dr. Tillman, Larry was one of my originals.
That's right.
I have 12 of my originals. And then there's 12 of you that were with Dr. Tillman, but I had you last semester. I fell in love with your group, by the way. And so I was lucky enough to get you this semester. So that's how we all fit together.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you guys need anything, let me know. I will record this. I'll render this and put it into YouTube and have it out to you soon. And since you're so attentive, I may just type up some notes and make it kind of easier for you.
That's great.
Thank you.
And don't forget those notes of Dr. Robertson's too. That outline is key. It is key for how you, he and I were evaluators before we were instructors or insurance. We started out evaluating, so we know what they're looking for. The program's changed a little bit and the content's changed a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same. So, and he actually talked with an evaluator when he wrote out that outline. So that's the easy way to do it. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me. And y'all have a good afternoon. Good rest of the afternoon. All right.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
See ya.
Bye. You're welcome.